force by those who have the military strength to do so. This cannot be the future of humanity.
Speaker is Mr. Stier for 1.5 minutes, please.
Presidenta, señora vicepresidenta, primero.
President, Vice President, if you're a Democrat, you shouldn't shed a tear for Maduro. He was imprisoning political dissidents, he was engaged in drug trafficking, and there was a horrific impoverishment of the people of Venezuela. Dictators abuse power and do not respect international law. But if there's a systematic violation of the International Declaration of Human Rights, then the international community does not gain from such violations. There's been close cooperation with the Chavista dictatorship, and so they're in no position to lecture anyone on international law. Edmundo González was recognized as president-elect, although many chose not to vote on that occasion here in the European Parliament, and Mr. González and Ms. Corina Machado should be part of the transition to democracy in Venezuela. Napoleon said that you can do a lot with a bayonet, everything except sitting down on it. The use of force can remove a dictator, topple a dictator, but it doesn't make the transition process legitimate. That can only be done through democracy as led by Maria Corina Machado.
Speaker is Ms. Temido for 1 minute, please.
Thank you, President. High Representative, colleagues, the situation in Venezuela is devastating. The Maduro regime has been responsible for a serious political, economic and social crisis, marking the lives of the people of Venezuela with repression and suffering for over a decade. We've not forgotten this, but we also recall that the US's Operation Absolute Resolve was an illegal intervention under international law, which we strongly condemn. If you look at the history of Latin America, you can see the logic of the Monroe Doctrine and US interventionism, always leading to the imposition of agendas of interest, never to democracy. The way forward is neither through dictatorship nor imperialism. The future of Venezuela calls for an urgent democratic transition. The EU must take an active role supporting civil society above all, so that Venezuelans themselves can decide in a sovereign manner the future of their country. A word of concern for the welfare and safety of the population, and I'd like to mention Portuguese Venezuelans, a large community facing insecurity and scarcity for too long. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Ms. Tovalieri for 1 minute, please.
La sinistra piange.
The left is rending its garments, but not because of what has actually happened, but because they've actually been freed of the dictator Maduro. The people who really are relieved that he is left are the people who've been forced to flee. Thousands of people have been expropriated. They've lost huge amounts of money, and much of the whole country is reduced to abject poverty, whereas it was one of the countries that was the richest the whole world over. Now you can't even go to hospital at all, and if you can, it costs money. The democracy that existed in the country is simply non-existent now. We've got to condemn this resoundingly. We must not be complicit with what was a ferocious dictatorship, because in fact it was aligned with the worst communist ideology of their world.
Do you want to take Tovalieri, Ms. Tovalieri? There's a blue card. Do you want to take that from Ms. Guara, seat 731, please?
Grazie, Presidente.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say that we Greens have always supported our counterparts there who've been imprisoned in large numbers. Recently, we welcome the release of one of our colleagues, Alberto Tantini, from Italy, 423 days he was imprisoned in silence, and the diplomats in Italy did nothing until Trump extricated Maduro. So I would like to ask you, what is the deputy of Maduro actually doing running the country of Venezuela under the thumb of Trump? Thank you. I don't quite understand what you're saying. I think Trump's strategy is simply that of supporting an opposition which has finally managed to overturn a desperately repressive regime and dictatorship. Your colleague was thankfully freed thanks to Trump's intervention and thanks to those who were able to bring to an end a regime which exiled 8 million Venezuelans. So neither wonder people are not protesting in favor of Maduro anymore. That's the reality.
Yes, Mr. Orlando, for 1 minute, please.
Signora Presidente,
Madam President, High Representative, the Trump government is systematically demolishing all of the principles of the independence of countries and their national integrity. This is imperialists, sovereignism, that just trying to make money and exert power. It's basically moving towards a state of world war. Maduro was responsible for systematic violations of human rights, but violating the integrity of a country with bloody military actions disguised as an international policing operation, just to try and get hands on oil resources, is not acceptable. High Representative, the largest democratic countries in the world have to deal with this situation. The International Criminal Court has to have a role here, because there is a need to look at the actions of countries like Israel, Iran, Russia, and China, imperialist countries. The speaker is interrupted.
Now, you have used
ruolo a
the
sostegno del rispetto dei diritti.
Thank you. Thank you. Dear colleague, I have unfortunately had to close the microphone. You're speaking far much more than you're allowed to. The next speaker will be Mr. Georgiou for 1 minute, please.
The right have said Machado, Machado, Machado. Will the EPP say who will rule in Venezuela? Mrs. Kallas, here we're not talking about Machado. We're not talking about Maduro. Here we're talking about an imperialist intervention and a mafia pirate action. Vice President Vance said it in Munich, a new sheriff in town, and you're scared, and you said, Maduro, the anti-democrat, should go away. Yes, but together with Giuliani, with Erdogan, and the other so-called democratic regimes of the Gulf, where there are never elections, the arguments for the invasion in Venezuela are ungrounded. And the imposition of military control in Latin America and in the Caribbean. Full stop. The rest is just arguments for stupid people. Now, Colombia, Mexico, and Cuba are the next. The EU, remember Greenland and the international law. It's too late. If you allow for Trumpism to rule, international law is finished, as well as NATO, and tomorrow EU itself. Venezuela is only the beginning. The snowball is arriving.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Ms. Petro for 1 minute, please.
For too long, Venezuela was like the man who mistook his reflection for his real self. There was a deliberate mechanism for repressing the country. Democracy and international law were subjected to that. But the people wanted something else. Whenever they were allowed to vote, they did go out to vote for something else. And The sovereign right to take their own decisions about their own future was something that was denied to them. Many lost all dignity and courage. This situation with political prisoners still in captivity cannot be tolerated any longer. If we believe in democracy, of course we have to defend that freedom. We should always choose to be on their side rather than on the side of tyrants. Long live a free Venezuela.
And the next speaker is Ms. Ince for 1 minute, please.
Venezuela has long faced a deep political and humanitarian crisis rooted in years of authoritarian rule. Nicolas Maduro did not have the democratic legitimacy, and yes, he is a dictator. The 2024 elections lack basic guarantees, and his government has long been responsible for serious human rights violations. But this cannot justify abounding international law and giving a green light to U.S. unilateral military actions. Rule must always apply to all countries and in all situations, whether in Venezuela, Ukraine, Gaza, Iran, Syria, or elsewhere. Selective respect for international law undermines the very order meant to protect all of us. EU must support the opposition, put pressure on the regime, and use the sanction tools. We need to help people to take power, but not through violating the multilateral structures and international law that were put in place after the Second World War. International law is here to defend all of us and ensure that people like Trump cannot claim countries like Greenland either.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Kraus for 1 minute, please.
Gracias, señora.
Thank you, President. The narco-dictator Nicolas Maduro has been captured. He was dragged from his bed and ended up in prison in America. Life is full of surprises, Nicolas. But now is the point at which we need to focus on the interests of the Venezuelan people. Their future must be in their hands, not in the hands of the deep-pocketed oil companies. Criminals such as Delcy Rodriguez continue in government, and as long as this is so, there will be no proper democratic transition in Venezuela. This Chavez scum must go. The Venezuelans deserve a just and free democracy, free of the cancer of Chavism. Long live a free Venezuela.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ms. Sofko for 1 minute, please.
Estimados colegas, el pueblo de Venezuela.
Dear colleagues, the people of Venezuela have been waiting for this for more than a decade. This opportunity to leave Maduro's regime behind and recover their own future. For years, Venezuelans have been living under repression and poverty in a country which actually has huge resources. But society was silenced and fundamental freedoms eroded. Following the latest presidential elections, indications were that the opposition had won. That's what the evidence said. But he clung on to power. He denied the people of Venezuela what they wished to see. They deserve to be able to choose their leaders freely. Venezuela needs a democratic transition, a genuine transition which is led by its own citizens on the basis of respect for human rights, rule of law, and peaceful democratic institutional transitions. It is only in such a way that Venezuelans will be able to decide on their own future, and in that way bring peace, justice, and prosperity to a country that has such great potential. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mr. Pizzula for 1 minute, please.
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, I'd like to stress that Nicolas Maduro doesn't have the legitimacy of a democratically elected president, and that conditions in Venezuela during his reign were dramatically difficult with serious violations of human rights. I hope that recent developments may enable democratic transition. The manner in which the space for change has been opened can be decisive. In all circumstances, the principles of international law and the Charter of the United Nations must be respected, including sovereignty, territorial integrity, and the prohibition of the use of force. Any unilateral action, including this by the USA, undermines the validity of international law, calls into question the sustainability of democratic transition in order to establish stability and secure access to the oil reserves of Venezuela. Trump has clearly shown that they intend to reach an agreement with the remnants of Maduro regime and not support the democratic opposition. Venezuela's natural resources belong to its people, and they must serve above all to the fight against poverty and development.
Dear colleagues, Nicolas Maduro, who systematically undermined democratic institutions and silenced opposition, is not anymore in power. This is a positive step, but it cannot be seen as a solution for the future of the country. The transition to democracy can only be legitimate if it emerges from the Venezuelans themselves through free and fair elections, of course under international observation. Any solution imposed from the outside will lack the credibility and sustainability that true democracy requires. Around 8 million Venezuelans have fled their country, and over 80% of those remaining in the country are living in poverty, 50% of them in extreme poverty. And Venezuela was a rich country. It should become a rich country again. A peaceful and democratic transition to bring peace, justice, and welfare to the people of Venezuela. That must be the aim.
Thank you very much. And the next speaker is Mr. Uriudain for 1 minute, please.
Commissioner Kallas, we are witnessing the descent of the United States into fascism. A president who rejects election results, incites insurrection, attacks the judiciary and the media, has an armed militia intimidating minorities, who kidnaps foreign leaders and threatens the sovereignty of others. If Trump smells weakness from the EU, it's because when the US or Israel break international law, we look the other way. History has taught all of us that the only thing a bully understands is strength and resolve. That means suspending the EU-US trade agreement, invoking the anti-coercion instrument, and standing by what we mean when we say never again. As an Irish MEP, I say this: the Taoiseach cannot engage in national humiliation on St. Patrick's Day in the White House. It's time to bury the cartoon Irish-American myth. No to the Shamrock ceremony. No to the US military use of Shannon. Yes to European solidarity and to the Primacy Commissioner of International Law.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Miljan Mon for 1 minute, please.
Thank you very much, President Ms. Kallas. Following the fall of Maduro, the dictator, there's a lot of hope, but it's a crucial juncture. We need to provide support to those who want rule of law, respect for human rights and freedom. We need to help with the democratic transition. The people of Venezuela need to be able to decide their own future, as they did in the July 2024 elections. Freeing political prisoners needs to be ongoing. It is positive, but it's insufficient. Venezuela needs an inclusive dialogue, including the democratic opposition, represented by Edmundo González and Maria Corina Machado, who clearly won the 2024 elections with 70% of the vote. The EU needs to maintain regular contact with those two individuals, and we also need to engage in coordination with Washington. The US is a crucial power. We need to act in a proactive way in order to bring our influence to bear, even if that is difficult. In the EU, we need to provide determined support to the people of Venezuela on their path to democracy and freedom. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the last speaker before Catch the Eye is Mr. Zarzalejos for 1 minute, please.
Gracias, señora Presidenta.
Thank you, President. High Representative, I number amongst those who feel no regret for the disappearance from power of an autocrat in Venezuela. He was a corrupt autocrat at the head of a repressive regime which led to 1/5 of the population fleeing into exile and abject poverty unprecedented in that country. I also number amongst those who are gravely concerned that Trump's interests and those of the Chavista regime, interested in its own survival, may actually coincide to the detriment of and at the cost of the democracy which the majority, the immense majority of Venezuelans desperately dream of. We can say this because they voted in the elections of July 2024, but this is a presidential election which was stolen by Nicolas Maduro. And this is why he was no legitimate president of Venezuela. Neither more is Ms. Rodriguez. The legitimate representatives of the Venezuelans are Edmundo Gonzalez and Maria Corina Machado, and they are the only people who can legitimately represent the country. Thank you.
To catch the eye, I will take all 7 speakers who requested the floor, but please stick to your speaking time, 1 minute, and you take it from your seat. And we begin with Mr. Zazebath, seat 676, please.
Szanowna Pani Przewodnicząca, Pani Komisarz, Wysoka Przedstawiciel, no przede wszystkim mamy do czynienia z nowymi...
Yes, well, obviously we have new facts to deal with, and the first of those is that on the 3rd of January, there was the American operation which was initiated concerning Nicolas Maduro. A good piece of news, but obviously it is worrying for us. And before this chamber, I would just like to say that when it comes to the cooperation, the marginalization of the opposition, the way this is being handled seems to mean that a democratic transition is going to be put off. And I'd just like to say here that in 2024, there were elections in Venezuela. And we know, of course, that Edmundo Gonzalez won those elections, and he is the only eligible representative of the power who has a democratic mandate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ms. Mai, seat 86, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. High Representative. In the context of this debate, I would like to shed the light on 3 islands, Aruba, Bonaire and Curacao, that lie a mere 30 to 80 kilometers off the coast of Venezuela. These islands are part of the Kingdom of the Netherlands and part of the EU overseas countries and territories. It is needless to say that what happens in Venezuela worries the people and the authorities of these islands, and it affects them politically, economically, and in migration. Therefore, I would like to ask the High Representative if there is already contact with representatives of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, either directly or via the Dutch government. And if not, are you willing and planning to do that? Because it is important to listen to the representatives of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao in shaping the policy of the EU in the region in general, but specifically now. We should not forget them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, also for sticking to the time. Next speaker is Ms. Sadona, seat 699, please.
La sinistra sta sempre dalla parte.
The left is always on the wrong side. We can see that there are demonstrations, and on the left, they're defending a dictator that has killed people and jailed the opposition. Often the left has spoken highly of communist regimes in Venezuela and Cuba. How can the left talk about respecting human rights and democracy? We saw terrible images of the left that were congratulating for what happened. Now, for those who have left Venezuela, we've heard how the situation was in their country. I cannot believe what is happening. This is pathetic.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Ms. Bolan, seat 374, please.
Thank you, Chair. The actions of the United States in Venezuela just illustrate the broader imperialistic stance of Donald Trump and his cronies towards Latin America. The reality is that they have kidnapped the Venezuelan head of state and his wife and have killed 83 civilians in the process. The actions of the United States are illegal under international law, and they are a thinly veiled attempt to engage in a large-scale resource grab in Venezuela. This is not about human rights, it's about oil and protecting power in the region. The EU's a la carte approach to international law is once again on display, and the failure of the EU's to condemn the actions of Donald Trump is pure cowardice. Only the Venezuelans should have the right to decide on their future. The EU must stand against US imperialism everywhere it rears its ugly head. And as for the Irish government, they need to kick the US military out of Shannon and defend Ireland's neutrality and protect international law.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Mr. Grasoulis, seat 525, please. Mr. Grasoulis, seat 525.
Keistai atrodo Europos parlamentas ir labai tuščiai diskutuoja.
The European Parliament looks odd. Cuba, Greenland, Venezuela. Nobody's listening. There's no international voice. If you want to be heard, you must carry out the politics of Trump. Be happy that this dictator was chased away, who threw people into prison. You are not condemning these people. What do you want? Trump is worse than any dictator? I welcome the fact that Trump is saying things the way they are. He acts rather than just speaking. Neither Putin nor China nor America respects the European Union.
6, please.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, when Steve Bannon back in 2017 gave the Nazi salute, when Elon Musk back in 2025 did the same, when Trump talked about Gaza and said that it would become a tourist destination, and you supported the genocide of the Palestinian people together with him, there was no reaction. There was no EU reaction, given that international law was trampled on. When Trump went into Venezuela, because the Maduro regime didn't fall, let me say, there was an abduction. They kidnapped a leader. They violated the sovereignty of a country. Do you really understand what this means? This means that you tacitly condone this because you didn't react back then. But I think that there will be a problem in the future, and there is a problem in the future because look at what's happening in Greenland, because Sheriff Trump is here. Do not support Nazis any longer.
And the last speaker in Catch the Eye is Mr. Nicolau Alavanos, seat 810, please.
We condemn the military intervention in Venezuela carried out by the U.S. We have ridiculous pretext. It's all about getting their hands on the oil and making sure that the U.S. can compete against China and Russia that were more present in Latin America. We condemn the fact that this intervention was supported by the EU. We condemn the sanctions that have made living standards worse in Venezuela. And also, of course, the New Democracy government in Greece and other bourgeois parties are also supporting this and adopting the pretext given by the U.S. and saying this is in the name of democracy. This shows that the so-called international law is used as an alibi for imperialist interventions, and this leads to dangerous developments for the peoples. We increase our solidarity to the Venezuelan people. They're the only ones who can decide on developments in the country. So keep your hands off Cuba, because that is also at the target of threats, and they have to deal with the United States and their allies and their threats.
to the High Representative and Vice President Kallas to close the debate. The floor is yours, please.
Dear President, honorable members, Venezuela's democratic future and global security today demand an EU approach rooted in unity, principle, and pragmatic resolve. Our objectives are clear: protecting EU citizens, upholding international law, defending and promoting democracy and human rights, and cooperating with partners, including, of course, the United States, to counter transnational organized crime. As events unfold, we need to state this clearly. The future of Venezuela must be decided by all Venezuelans themselves. The European Union will support the peaceful, negotiated, and fully inclusive process that irreversibly restores democratic governance. We remain committed to support reconciliation, the reconstruction of democratic institutions, and economic recovery that the Venezuelan people so urgently need. And we will work with all partners to achieve this. And yes, you are right, international law must be upheld, including the principles of territorial integrity and state sovereignty enshrined in the UN Charter. Let us act with unity, resolve, and responsibility to assist Venezuelans in reclaiming democracy and stability. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And now the debate is closed. Give you all a couple of seconds to find your seat and get ready for the next debate.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, accompanied by Mark Walter, owner and chairman of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's a good-looking group. I see some people oftentimes, like politicians behind me, it's not so pretty. That is a very good-looking group of people. And I'm thrilled to welcome to the White House very special people, actually, very talented people, the 2024 World Series champion, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And I want to congratulate you on a legendary season, and I watched it very closely. Some of those teams were home teams, and you did a big number. You're really amazing how it all came out and how it all ended. With us today is Dodgers owner and chairman Mark Walter. Thank you very much, Mark. Congratulations. President Stan Kasten, one of the greatest managers of the really ever to wear the Dodger blue, Dave Roberts. What a time he's had.
Thank you, sir.
That's great. What a job. I think he would have lasted even with George Steinbrenner, right? I love George. He was very quick. He would, you lose 2 games and you were fired, right? Great job, Dave. Also want to recognize Secretary of Agriculture. We have some great people, Brooke Rollins, who, you know, when I came to office, they said the eggs are gone through the roof. Eggs. I said, what the hell are they talking about? I was there for 4 days and they were blaming me for eggs, and they've gone up like 6 times or something, some record number, you couldn't get them. And I gave it to Brooke, and I just saw the other day they're down 73%, right? That's pretty good. And the press doesn't mention that. Nobody talks about it, so but I know. Secretary of Labor, Lori Chavez de Rimmer. Thank you. Congratulations. The Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles, who's a big Dodger fan, by the way. Susie, thank you. And we have also Representatives Kevin Kiley, Congressman Kevin Kiley, Young Kim, thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Jay Obernolte. Jay. Thanks, Jay. Nanette Barragan. Nanette, where's the... Hi, Nanette. Oh, look at that, huh? What nice outfit. One of my favorite people, Gus Bilirakis, Congressman. Hi, Gus. Addison McDowell, new to the Congress, but doing a great job. Thank you, Addison. A real good baseball player, and a friend of mine, Roger Williams. Great job. And another new congressman, but he's been there a long time in a mental sense because he has really done a job, and he knows Congress very well. He was with me for 7 years. Brian Jack. Brian, congratulations, Brian. And others, we have a couple of senators here. I just don't particularly like them, so I won't introduce. Over the course of this amazing season, the members of this team I didn't think it was that big a deal, actually. Washington. Over the course of this amazing season, the members of this team gave us some of the most incredible performances ever seen in the baseball diamond. In all of baseball history, only 6 players have ever hit 40 home runs and stolen 40 bases in a single season. And an elite group known as the 40-40 Club. It's a 40-40 Club, and very few people make it. But unanimous National League MVP, Shohei Ohtani. Looks like a movie star. He's got a good future, I'm telling you. He shattered all of those records last year. Think of it, all of them. And he did something even more because he became the first ever member of the 50-50 Club. So 40-40 is top. Hitting 54 home runs and 59 steals, an accomplishment unparalleled in 149 years of Major League Baseball. Think of that. That's just incredible. Even more incredibly, Shohei clinched that achievement in what some have called the greatest game ever. Was it that good of a game? That was a pretty good game, actually, right there. Is he good?
Only getting better.
And he's getting better.
Getting better.
That's scary for a lot of people, huh? Even more incredibly, Shohei clinched the achievement. I mean, it really was, and at a time that, at an age that nobody ever thought was possible. On September 19th, 2024, he did the unthinkable by going 6 for 6. This is a pretty amazing. I didn't realize it was that good. I saw that game, 6 for 6 against the Marlins with 3 homers, 10 RBIs, and a pair of stolen bases. Other than that, it was not a great game. How many people have gone 6 for 6 just period, right? Not very much, right?
Maybe a dozen.
Maybe a dozen. Amazing. As you know, the Dodgers were down a lot of talent on the mound last season due to injury. The resilient group used 40 different pitchers, the most ever by an eventual World Series championship team. They had to go and get them. I don't know how they got them and where they got them, but they got them because they won. I know you especially miss the heart and soul of the pitching staff, Clayton Kershaw, who is really fantastic. These are the best-looking people I've ever seen. It's incredible. But Clayton has been unbelievable, and if you look at his records and you look at the stamina, the endurance that he's had, and we're really happy to have him. I'm glad to meet him. I've watched him for a long time. He's a young guy yet, but you are a young guy, but I've watched you for a long time. So congratulations, amazing. All year, the Dodgers faced down adversity. You entered the playoffs battered and bruised, but not broken. When you ran out the healthy arms, you ran out of really healthy. They had great arms, but they ran out. It's called sports. It's called baseball in particular. and pitchers, I guess you could say, in really particular. But the starting rotation during the National League Division Series, this scrappy Dodgers bullpen shut out the Padres, saved the season, and forced Game 5. Then key players battled back from midseason injuries to help deliver the National League pennant, including superstars Mookie Betts. Oh, is he good?
Good looking.
Mookie, that guy can play, can't he? I mean, unbelievable. You really, Mookie is, I've been watching it. I don't want to say I watched him when he was on Boston, but I did. I didn't think that was a particularly good trade when they made it, and I happened to be right. And Max Muncy, I want to congratulate Max. Max, come here, Max. His arms are very strong when I touch them. I'm used to shaking politicians and hitting their armors like Jell-O, and now it's like steel. All these guys, but Max, that's great. And also Yoshi Yamamoto. Yoshi. Wow, what great athletes. And of course, series MVP, Tommy Edman. That was an MVP series. It's a good feeling, right? With all these guys really got, right? Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a lot of talent you had to beat out there for the MVP, but they all had an incredible. Tommy was 407 with 11 RBIs in 6 games. That's not bad, right? That's not bad. Great job. When it counted, too. Next came the blockbuster World Series against another iconic team known as the New York Yankees. I love the Yankees. George was a great friend of mine. He had very few friends, but he was. And if you want to sit for 9 innings with a game watching the Yankees play with George, you were exhausted by the end of the game. It was actually hard work, but we love George. And they're doing a good job, and they're doing well this season, and you're already 9-2. And so you're doing a good job. Maybe you see the same thing over again. In Game 1 of the World Series, Freddie Freeman, on a sprained ankle. He's a great player with a broken finger and a broken rib, channeled Kirk Gibson's legendary walk-off home run in Game 1 of the 1988 World Series. That was a game that pretty much everybody remembers. He could hardly swing the bat, but he swung it one time, and it was a shot. On the first pitch Freddie saw in the bottom of the 10th, he hit an unforgettable walk-off grand slam home run, the first in World Series history. It's amazing. The Dodgers rode the momentum to win 2 of their next 3 games, placing them on the verge of baseball immortality in the dramatic Game 5, down 5 runs on the top of the 5th. That was a strange inning, I'll tell you, for those Yankee fans. But I'm not saying I was a Yankee fan, because I love these people behind me. But down 5 runs in the top of the 5th with 2 outs and the bases loaded, the Dodgers gave us one of the grittiest half-inning World Series events, showings that anybody's ever seen. Mookie started the rally by beating out a routine ground ball to first, which he's fast as hell. I don't know how the hell you kick it. Having that speed isn't that a great thing? I played baseball, but I was sort of slow. I wasn't fast. Driving in the phenomenal Kike Hernandez. Where's Kike? It's a hell of a group. Then Freddie drove in 2 more runs, and Teoscar Hernandez drove in another couple of runs. That's a group. Teoscar, so you're doing well this season, too? Yes, that's what I heard. That's what I heard. After a few dominant innings from Blake Trainin. Where's Blake? I heard dominant, right? That's dominant. Great job, Blake. And the team was crowned the World Series champion against a great team. The Yankees are a great team and always a great franchise. And I guess, I don't know, like 28 or something. They've won a lot, probably, or maybe more than any team in history overall. And you might be catching them pretty soon if you keep going. You've got a little ways to go, I guess. The scouting report at the start of the series said that the Dodgers could win by focusing on the fundamentals, and that's exactly what they did. You showed America that it's not about individual glory, it's about the team digging deep and sprinting right through first base, and you did that all the time. I watch some games. I love baseball. I don't get to watch as much as I'd like, but you always see a spirit on this team. I think a lot of that has to do with the ownership and the management, frankly. But you see a spirit on the Dodgers that you don't see with a lot of teams. A lot of teams I turn on, I say, oh, let's forget it. When I turn on the Dodgers, I like to watch the team. And now that I've gotten to meet these guys personally, I'll like it even more. I'm going to like it even more, and you're off to a great start. After seeing how successfully you've begun the season, I can tell you that you can plan on being back here. I hope you're going to be back here next year. I don't want to give you too much because we want to have a little suspense for next year, but I will tell you, we're going to go down. We're going to do something we don't do generally. We're going to run them down really fast. Have a game today? Do you have a game today or tonight? We're going to run them down to the Oval Office, and we're going to show them the fabled Oval Office, and there's nothing like it. And this wonderful owner, one of the greatest owners in sports, by the way, from everything I've heard, one of the greatest owners in sports, along with your other compatriots, right, fellas? It's a great team of owners, and that's very important. But he said they'd love it, and I think he'd like to do it himself. So we'll get out of here, and we will run. We'll sprint down, and we'll see the Oval Office, which is really something to see, you know? It's funny. People come from all over, the biggest people, the richest people, the most powerful people, and they come and they go into the Oval Office and they just stare. Oh, wow, that's something. They all have beautiful offices. They have offices that are the best in the world in many cases, but they love the Oval Office. So with all of that, I'd like to now introduce you to the Dodgers chairman, Mark Walter, to say a few words, and then we're going to follow that up with Clayton, who's going to say a couple of things, and that's a great representative of a great team. Thank you very much. Mark, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We're very pleased to participate in the tradition of bringing champions to the White House. Last season was an incredible season. We won the World Series. Second time in 2020, and since 2020, and only 8 times in our seasons, our history. We played in front of almost 4 million fans, and we had many millions more on television. Our global following has soared, and not only from Shohei Ohtani, but also from Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Clayton Kershaw, and many, many more. Alongside this on-field success, we have been deeply immersed in our community. Our players and managers have supported have each had foundations and support for communities. Our trust last year has committed $100 million to help Chicago or LA Fire. And so on behalf of the organization, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, wow, this is an incredible honor for me, and to stand here today representing the Los Angeles Dodgers and this group of staff and players behind me today. The 2024 Los Angeles Dodgers season is one that will go down the history books, always holding a special place in the hearts of myself and those there with me, as well as millions of Dodger fans around the world. This organization exemplifies what it means to come together as one for a greater purpose and represent something so much bigger than themselves. The selflessness and humility that each one of these players and staff have shown over the last year is truly an inspiration. They have constantly played hurt, switched positions, and taken the ball to put the team first. As a spectator for our championship run last year, I was in awe of this group. Their unwavering confidence, coupled with a selfless pursuit for team excellence, was an inspiration. That is why I'm so grateful to get to speak today on their behalf, as I know none of them would say this about themselves. Moving forward, I hope the 2024 Dodgers can serve as an inspiration to many like they were to me, not just in sports, but in life, remembering to put others before ourselves. It moves a team and a society forward. So thank you for allowing me to speak today, because the story of the 2024 World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers is a true joy to get to tell, and it's because of the extraordinary people that are behind me and their incredible pursuit of excellence. Thank you. And Mr. President, we have a gift for you as well.
Oh, that's good. Oh, I like that. Wow. Ooh, I like that. Come on, Mark.
Oh, they're going to move.
Okay.